Millionaire forced his sister to sell the family farm. On Demolition Day, Mother's diary revealed something that changed everything. Vincent Hawthorne sat in his expansive office, the walls adorned with sleek modern art, and the air thick with the scent of expensive cologne. The faint hum of high-tech gadgets filled the room, a stark contrast to the rustic charm of the family farm he was contemplating selling. As he adjusted his glasses and stared at the array of financial projections on his dual monitors, he felt a rush of excitement. The numbers danced on the screen, promising lucrative returns that could further cement his status as a tech mogul. "Vincent, this deal is a goldmine," his lead investor Marco said, leaning over the desk, his tone dripping with enthusiasm. "With the real estate market booming, selling that land now is the best move you can make. Think of the profit." Vincent nodded, his mind racing with visions of his next big project. "I know, Marco. I just need to finalize the details with Eliza. It's complicated." "Complicated? It's a piece of land. You have to look at it as a business decision. Emotions have no place in this," Marco replied, brushing off Vincent's concern. "We'll have investors lined up, eager to pay top dollar. Just imagine what you could do with that capital." Vincent gripped the edge of his desk, his knuckles turning white. "You don't understand. That land, it's more than just a business asset. It's our family's legacy." "Legacy?" Marco scoffed. "With all due respect, Vincent, legacies don't pay bills. You're not a farmer anymore. You're a millionaire. Focus on your future." As Marco continued to rattle off figures, Vincent's thoughts drifted to Eliza, his younger sister. She had always been the heart of their family, the one who found comfort in the memories of their childhood spent running through the fields and climbing trees. How could he explain to her that he was ready to let go of the past for the promise of a brighter, wealthier future? The thought gnawed at him. Meanwhile, Eliza stood in the middle of the family farm, the sun spilling golden light over the weathered barn and the expansive fields of wildflowers. She inhaled the familiar scent of earth and hay, letting it wash over her like a comforting blanket. Each corner of the farm was imbued with memories, the laughter of summer days, the warmth of family gatherings, the whispers of dreams shared under the stars. "Isn't it beautiful?" Sarah, her childhood friend, said, standing beside her. "I can't believe you're thinking of letting it go. This place is magic." Eliza nodded, her heart heavy. "It is, but Vincent thinks it's just a piece of property. He doesn't see what it means to us." "Have you talked to him about it?" Sarah asked, her brow furrowed in concern. "I've tried, but he's so wrapped up in his world of tech and profits. I don't think he can even comprehend why this place matters to me," Eliza replied, her voice trembling slightly. "To him, it's just a business decision, but to me, it's home." Sarah placed a comforting hand on Eliza's shoulder. "You need to make him see. This land is part of your family's history. It's not just about money." "I know," Eliza said, her resolve strengthening. "I'm going to have to confront him. I can't let him just sell it without a fight." As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow over the farm, Eliza felt a renewed sense of purpose. She needed to remind Vincent of their roots, to show him the value of what they were about to lose. That evening, the siblings gathered for dinner at their childhood home, a modest house that still held echoes of laughter and love. The table was set with care, but the atmosphere was thick with tension. Vincent sat at one end, his demeanor sharp and focused, while Eliza picked at her food, glancing at her brother, searching for the right moment to speak. "Vincent," she finally said, breaking the silence, "I think we need to talk about the farm." He looked up, his expression guarded. "What's there to talk about, Eliza? It's just a piece of land that's better off in someone else's hands. We can't keep holding on to the past." Eliza took a deep breath, summoning her courage. "But it's not just a piece of land. It's our family's legacy. Mom and Dad worked so hard to build this place. They had dreams for it, dreams that we could still fulfill. Vincent rolled his eyes, his impatience bubbling to the surface. "Eliza, you're being sentimental. We can't live in the past. You need to understand that this is a business decision. We can use the money for something more important." "More important?" Eliza shot back, her voice rising. "What could possibly be more important than our family's history? This farm is where we grew up. It's where we learned about love, family, and community. You can't just throw that away." Vincent's jaw clenched as he resisted the urge to lash out. "I'm not throwing anything away. I'm trying to secure our future. You need to see that, Eliza." She shook her head, tears brimming in her eyes. "No, Vincent. You're only seeing the numbers and ignoring the memories. This place is our home. The barn, the fields, the trees, they hold our stories. You can't just erase that." He leaned back in his chair, his frustration evident. "You're being emotional about this. I need you to be practical. We have investors waiting, and I can't keep putting this off." Eliza felt a lump in her throat, desperation creeping in. "I know it's hard for you, but please, try to remember what it felt like to be a kid here, to run through the fields and dream big. This place is special, Vincent. It deserves to be cherished, not sold off to the highest bidder." Vincent's expression softened for a fleeting moment, the weight of nostalgia tugging at his heart. But he quickly hardened again, unwilling to let sentimentality cloud his judgment. "I can't afford to think like that, Eliza. I have a business to run. It's not just about us anymore." The conversation faltered, and the siblings sat in silence, the gulf between them widening. Eliza felt a profound sadness settle over her as she realized how far apart they had grown. She wanted to believe that there was still a chance to save the farm, to save their bond. But Vincent seemed lost in his world of numbers and profits. As the night wore on, Eliza's heart ached with the knowledge that the impending sale of the farm was more than just a financial decision. It was a fracture in their relationship. Desperate to reclaim her brother's heart, she resolved to fight for the family legacy, even if it meant standing alone. Vincent Hawthorne sat in a sleek, contemporary restaurant, his sharp suit contrasting with the rustic charm of the place. The bustling environment around him was alive with laughter and clinking glasses, yet he felt a growing sense of detachment. He was seated at a long, polished table with a handful of investors, all of them eager to discuss the impending sale of the family farm. For them, it was just another deal. For Vincent, it was a piece of his past, a connection to a time he had tried to leave behind. "Vincent, we need to move fast on this," said Mark, a brash investor with slicked-back hair and a penchant for flashy deals. "The tech market is volatile right now, and every day we delay is money lost." Vincent nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. He couldn't shake the image of his sister, Eliza, standing in the middle of the farm, her face a mixture of anger and heartbreak. He had been so focused on the numbers, the potential profit from selling the land, that he had forgotten what it truly meant to her. The tension had been palpable between them during their last confrontation, and now, sitting here, he felt a knot forming in his stomach. "We've got a buyer lined up," another investor chimed in, glancing at Vincent expectantly. "A developer who wants to turn it into a luxury resort." "Imagine the profits, Vincent." "Yeah, but—" Vincent started, but he was cut off. "No buts! This is a golden opportunity. You can't let sentimentality cloud your judgment," Mark insisted, leaning forward in his seat. Vincent sighed, rubbing his temples. I know. But it's not just any piece of land. It's our family's legacy." "Legacy doesn't pay the bills, my friend," Mark countered sharply. "You're a tech mogul now. You need to think big, play the game. We're talking millions here." Vincent glanced out the window, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and purple. He thought of Eliza, her unwavering spirit, and how she had fought tooth and nail to keep the farm. While he felt the weight of his investors' expectations, he also felt the pull of his sister's passion for their childhood home. Meanwhile, miles away, Eliza stood in the middle of the farm, the sun casting a warm glow over the familiar landscape. The tall grass swayed gently in the breeze, and she could almost hear her mother's laughter echoing through the fields. Every inch of the property was infused with memories. The barn where they had played hide and seek, the apple tree where they had shared countless picnics, and the porch swing that had held so many family gatherings. "Are you going to let him do this?" Sarah, her childhood friend, asked, breaking Eliza's reverie. They were sitting on the porch, sipping iced tea, the weight of the impending sale heavy in the air. "What choice do I have?" Eliza replied, her voice quivering with emotion. "Vincent has made up his mind. He sees it as a business opportunity, not a home. Then fight for it. Host an event, gather the community, remind him what this place means to all of us," Sarah encouraged, her eyes bright with determination. "He needs to see the farm through your eyes." Eliza nodded, her heart racing at the thought. "You're right. This farm isn't just ours. It belongs to everyone who has ever stepped foot on it. I'll organize something. We'll celebrate the memories and show him that this land is worth fighting for." As the days passed, Eliza poured her energy into planning a community event. She reached out to neighbors, friends, and anyone who had a connection to the farm. Flyers were posted in town, and soon excitement began to build. It would be a day of nostalgia, a chance for everyone to share their stories and memories of the place they all loved. On the day of the event, the farm was buzzing with life. Tables adorned with checkered tablecloths were set up under the sprawling oak trees, and a makeshift stage was erected for speeches and performances. Eliza looked around, her heart swelling with pride as families arrived, their faces lighting up with recognition. "Look at this turnout," Sarah exclaimed, beaming. "You've done an amazing job, Eliza. I just wanted to remind everyone of what this place means," Eliza said, wiping a stray tear from her eye. The sight of so many familiar faces warmed her heart. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for the battle ahead. As the afternoon wore on, Eliza stood on the stage, her heart pounding in her chest. She looked out at the crowd, her friends and neighbors gathered to support her cause. Taking a deep breath, she began to speak. "Thank you all for coming today. This farm is more than just land. It's our history and our future," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor of emotion. "Each of us has memories tied to these fields, whether it's picking apples, attending barbecues, or simply enjoying a quiet moment on the porch." The crowd murmured in agreement, nodding and smiling as they exchanged knowing glances. "Vincent may see this as a business opportunity, but I want him to understand that it's so much more than that. This land is a part of who we are, and I refuse to let it go without a fight." As cheers erupted from the audience, Eliza spotted Vincent standing at the edge of the gathering, his expression a mix of surprise and discomfort. He had come, albeit reluctantly, and now he was witnessing the very heart of the community he had overlooked. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Vincent received a flurry of photos and videos from the event. He scrolled through them, pausing at a picture of Eliza laughing with a group of children, her face lit up with joy. For a moment he felt a pang of guilt wash over him. He had been so consumed by the idea of profit that he had forgotten the emotional ties that bound them to the farm. "Vincent," Mark's voice broke through his thoughts. "What are you doing? We need to finalize the deal tomorrow. This is the biggest opportunity of your career." "I know," Vincent replied, his voice distant. "But I'm not sure I can just let this go. Look at these photos. Look at what it means to her, to all of them." Mark rolled his eyes, clearly frustrated. "You can't allow emotions to dictate your business decisions. You'll regret it if you don't act now." As the night wore on, Vincent found himself torn between the pressure of his investors and the undeniable pull of his sister's passion for their family legacy. The stories and memories shared at the event echoed in his mind, creating a cacophony that drowned out the cold logic of profit margins and market trends. Meanwhile, Eliza sat on the porch of the farmhouse, staring up at the stars with Sarah by her side. They had spent the day surrounded by love and support, but now, as the reality of the situation sank in again, she felt a wave of uncertainty wash over her. "What if he doesn't change his mind?" Eliza whispered, her voice barely audible. "What if he goes through with the sale?" "He will see the light, Eliza. You've shown him what this place means. You just need to keep pushing," Sarah reassured her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "You've got the whole town behind you." "Yeah, but what if it's not enough?" Eliza said, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "What if he values money over family?" As they sat in silence, the weight of their worries hung heavy in the air, a reminder that the battle for their home was far from over. But the fight for the farm had only just begun, and Eliza was determined to make Vincent see the true value of their heritage, even if it meant facing the deepest parts of their shared past. Eliza stood in the dim light of the old library, surrounded by dust-laden books and the faint scent of aged paper. Her fingers traced the spines of the volumes, each one a testament to her family's history. It was here, amidst the faded memories of her childhood, that she stumbled upon it, a leather-bound diary tucked away on a high shelf, forgotten by time. The cover was cracked and the pages yellowed, but the moment she opened it, she felt a rush of nostalgia wash over her. "Mom's diary," she whispered to herself, a smile tugging at her lips. Memories of her mother reading to her and Vincent in this very room flooded her mind. With a mix of excitement and apprehension, she sat down in a nearby chair, the diary resting on her lap like a treasure chest waiting to be unlocked. As Eliza flipped through the pages, she found her mother's elegant script detailing dreams and aspirations that had once filled the air of the Hawthorne farmhouse. There were entries about the land, the fields of corn swaying in the wind, the barn echoing with laughter, and plans for a community centre that would bring the townsfolk together. Her heart raced as she read about her mother's deep love for the farm and her desire to create a space where everyone could gather, share stories, and build lasting bonds. "Why didn't I know about any of this?" Eliza muttered, her brow furrowed in disbelief. Mom wanted this place to be more than just a farm. She wanted it to be a home for everyone. She continued to read, the words pulling her deeper into her mother's world. There were passages about the struggles they faced, the hard work it took to keep the farm running, and the joy that came from tending to the land. Eliza could almost hear her mother's voice echoing through the pages, filled with hope and determination. Suddenly, a lump formed in her throat as she reached a particularly moving entry. "This land is not just soil and crops. It's our legacy, a gift to our children and their children. I hope they will cherish it as we have, and use it to build a community filled with love and kindness." Eliza closed her eyes, overwhelmed by a wave of emotion. She could feel the weight of her mother's dreams pressing down on her, igniting a fire within. This wasn't just a piece of property. It was a symbol of everything her family stood for, everything that Vincent seemed to have forgotten in his pursuit of wealth and success. "I have to show this to Vincent," she said resolutely, the determination coursing through her veins. "He needs to understand what this place really means." That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow across the fields, Eliza sent Vincent a message. "I found something important at the farm. Can you come by tomorrow? I really need to talk to you." Vincent's response was swift, albeit cautious. "What is it, Eliza? I'm busy with meetings all day." "It's about Mom's diary. Please, it's important," she typed back, hoping her urgency would convey the significance of her request. After a moment of hesitation, he replied, "Okay, I'll stop by in the afternoon." The next day arrived with an air of expectancy. Eliza spent the morning preparing the farmhouse, tidying up the kitchen and dusting off the dining table. She wanted everything to be perfect when Vincent arrived. As she placed a vase of wildflowers in the center of the table, she heard the familiar sound of tires crunching on gravel. Her heart raced. He was here. Eliza opened the door to find Vincent standing on the porch, looking as polished as ever in his tailored suit, his demeanor a stark contrast to the rustic charm of the farmhouse. "Hey, Eliza," he greeted, his tone neutral, but she could sense the tension lurking beneath the surface. "Thanks for coming," she said, stepping aside to let him in. "I found something in Mom's old stuff that I think you need to see." Vincent raised an eyebrow, skepticism written across his face. "Is this about the farm again? You know I have a lot on my plate, right?" "I know, but please just hear me out." Eliza led him to the library, where she had already spread the diary open on the table, the pages fluttering slightly in the draft. "Can you just read this?" she urged, pointing to the passages she had marked. "It's about what she dreamed for this place." Vincent crossed his arms, glancing at the diary with a mixture of reluctance and curiosity. "I don't have time for nostalgia, Eliza. We're talking about a business decision here." "Just read it," she insisted, her voice rising in emotion. "This isn't just about business. It's about family, about our roots. Mom had hopes for this land, and it's not just an investment for us." With a resigned sigh, Vincent sat down and began to read. The silence stretched between them as he absorbed the words, his expression shifting from indifference to something more contemplative. Eliza watched him closely, her heart pounding in her chest. "This land is not just soil and crops, it's our legacy." Vincent read aloud, his voice trailing off as he processed the weight of the words. "She really wanted this to be a place for the community." "Yes, exactly," Eliza exclaimed, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. "Mom believed in the power of community. She wanted us to carry on that legacy." Vincent looked up, his brow furrowed in thought. "But Eliza, we can't just ignore the financial implications. It's a business. The market is right, and selling would be a smart move." "Is that all you see? A business?" Eliza replied, her voice trembling with frustration. "You're missing the point. This could be more than just a business venture. It could be a way to honor Mom's memory and bring people together." Vincent leaned back in his chair, clearly torn. "I don't know, Eliza. I've built my life around success and profit. It's hard to just change my perspective." "I get that," she said softly, the tension between them palpable. "But maybe this is your chance to rediscover what really matters. You've been so focused on being a millionaire that you've forgotten about what it means to be part of a family." Vincent's expression softened, and for a moment, Eliza thought she saw a flicker of vulnerability in his eyes. "I've felt the pressure," he admitted quietly. "To keep up, to succeed, it's like I'm always racing against time." Eliza felt a pang of compassion for her brother. "You don't have to do this alone. We can work together. We can make Mom's dreams come true if we just give it a chance." He sighed deeply, the weight of her words settling on his shoulders. "I just don't know if I can let go of the idea of selling. It's a big step, and I'm not sure I'm ready for it." "Maybe it's time to redefine success," Eliza suggested, her voice steady. "What if we create something meaningful here, something that honors our past while also building a brighter future?" Vincent remained silent, his gaze drifting towards the window, where the golden light of the setting sun illuminated the fields outside. Eliza could see the internal struggle on his face, the conflict between his ambitions and the memories of their mother tugging at his heartstrings. After what felt like an eternity, he looked back at her, a hint of resolve in his eyes. "All right, I'll think about it, but I can't promise anything." Eliza felt a surge of hope at his words. "That's all I'm asking for, Vincent. Just think about it." As they sat in the fading light, the atmosphere in the room shifted. The diary lay open between them, a bridge connecting their past, with the possibility of a shared future. Despite the uncertainty that lingered, Eliza knew that this moment marked the beginning of something new, something worth fighting for. Eliza stood in the dim light of the old farmhouse, the air thick with the scent of aged wood and memories. She had always loved this place, but today it felt different, charged with an electricity that buzzed in her veins. The fading sunlight streamed through the dusty windows, casting long shadows that danced on the floorboards. She clutched her mother's diary, the worn leather cover soft against her fingertips. It was a relic of a time when hope and dreams were woven into the fabric of their family life, and she was determined to share its secrets with Vincent. With a deep breath, she made her way to the kitchen, where the old oak table still stood, a witness to countless family dinners and discussions. She set the diary down, her heart racing as she waited for Vincent to arrive. The air was thick with anticipation, and for a moment she allowed herself to hope that he would understand the importance of what she was about to show him. When Vincent finally walked through the door, his presence was overwhelming. He was a man who commanded attention, tall and broad-shouldered, his tailored suit contrasting sharply with the rustic charm of the farmhouse. But today there was a weariness in his eyes that Eliza had not seen before, a flicker of doubt that she hoped to ignite into something more. "Hey, Eliza," he said, his voice low and measured. "What's this about? You sounded urgent in your message." He glanced around the kitchen, his gaze settling briefly on the diary before returning to her face. "I found something," Eliza began, her voice trembling slightly. "It's Mom's diary. I think it can help us understand why this place means so much to our family." She gestured to the diary, the words of their mother waiting to breathe life into their stagnant debate. Vincent raised an eyebrow. Skepticism etched across his handsome features. "A diary? Eliza, we've been through this. The farm is just a piece of land now. It's a financial burden, and we can't afford to cling to the past." Eliza felt a pang of frustration, but pushed it aside. "It's not just land, Vincent. It's our heritage, our memories. Mom wrote about her dreams for this place, about what it could be for the community." She picked up the diary, her fingers trembling with emotion. Please just listen to what she had to say. With a resigned sigh, Vincent stepped closer. His curiosity piqued despite himself. "All right, read it to me," he said, his tone softer now, though there was still an edge of reluctance. Eliza opened the diary to a page that was well worn, the ink slightly faded but still legible. She began to read aloud, her voice steady as she recited her mother's words, filled with love and hope. "Our little piece of heaven, this farm has always been a sanctuary for our family. I dream of turning this place into a community center where neighbors can gather, share stories, and support one another. I believe that in unity we can find strength. This land is not just ours, it belongs to everyone who has walked its paths." As Eliza read, she could feel Vincent's tension gradually easing, his expression shifting from skepticism to contemplation. She continued, her heart racing with every line she delivered. Mom envisioned a place where families could come together, where children could play and learn, a haven of love and support. Vincent shifted his weight, his arms crossing over his chest as he listened intently. "I remember her talking about that," he admitted, his voice low. "But that was just a dream, Eliza. We live in reality now. The world has changed." Eliza closed the diary, her heart pounding. "But that doesn't mean we can't bring her dream to life. We can create something that honors her memory and serves the community. Don't you see? It's not just about the money, it's about the legacy we leave behind." Vincent's gaze hardened for a moment, then softened as he met her eyes. "I don't know, Eliza. I've built my life on success and numbers. I'm not sure I can just switch gears like that." "Why not?" Eliza pressed, her passion igniting. "You're more than just a businessman, Vincent. You're my brother, and you have the power to make a difference. Mom believed in this place and in us. Don't you want to do something meaningful?" He ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident on his face. "I want to, but I also have responsibilities to my investors. They expect results, not sentimental projects." "What if you didn't have to choose?" Eliza challenged, stepping closer. "What if you could combine both? You could lead a project that gives back to the community while still being a success. You could redefine what success means." Vincent looked at her, his brow furrowing. "And how do you propose we fund this?" "Community center. Money doesn't grow on trees, Eliza." "Crowdfunding, grants, community support," she suggested, her excitement bubbling over. "People want to invest in something that matters. Just look at the turnout at the event last week. The community cares." "Yeah, but that was just one day," he countered, though the edge in his tone had dulled. "People are enthusiastic in the moment, but will they sustain it?" Eliza took a breath, trying to keep her voice steady. "You won't know unless you try. Mom had faith in this place, and I have faith in you. Together we can make this happen. Think about it. What if the farm became a hub for creativity, for healing? A place where families come together and thrive?" Vincent's eyes flickered with something: hope, regret. It was hard to tell, but Eliza could sense the walls he had built around himself beginning to crack. "You really believe in this, don't you?" he asked, his tone less confrontational, more contemplative. "I do," she replied earnestly, her heart racing. "I believe in us. I believe in what this farm can be, and I believe in honoring Mom's vision. We can do this together, Vincent. Please." He paused, his gaze drifting to the window, where the last rays of sunlight painted the sky in hues of orange and pink. Memories flooded back, days spent running through the fields, laughter echoing in the air, their mother's warm smile as she shared her dreams. For a fleeting moment, he imagined a future where the farm thrived as a community center, a beacon of hope and connection. "I'll think about it," he finally said, his voice quiet but resolute. "But I can't make any promises." Eliza felt a surge of gratitude mixed with caution. "That's all I ask. Just think about it." As Vincent turned to leave, Eliza called out, her heart pounding. "Whatever you decide, remember that family comes first. We're in this together no matter what." He paused at the door, looking back at her, a flicker of something vulnerability, perhaps crossing his features. "I know," he replied softly before stepping outside into the fading light. Alone in the kitchen, Eliza let out a breath she didn't realize she had been holding. She clutched the diary to her chest, a mix of hope and uncertainty swirling within her. There was still a long way to go, but for the first time she felt as though Vincent might just be willing to listen. The sun was setting over the small town of Maplewood, casting a golden hue over the fields surrounding the Hawthorne family farm. Eliza stood in the sprawling backyard, her heart racing with renewed hope. The community had come together to support her cause, and she could feel the energy buzzing in the air. A sense of determination filled her as she and Sarah prepared for the upcoming festival. "Can you believe how many people are coming?" Sarah asked, her voice brimming with excitement. She was busy pinning colorful banners to the old oak tree, the very tree where Eliza and Vincent had played as children. "I know. It's overwhelming," Eliza replied, her gaze drifting across the field dotted with makeshift stalls, tables, and chairs. "I just hope Vincent doesn't try to push through with the sale before the festival. This could be our chance to show him how much this place means to everyone. I think he's starting to feel the pressure. I saw him at that fancy restaurant last week with his investors. They're all about the money, and I doubt they care about the history here," Sarah said, shaking her head in frustration. Eliza sighed. "He's always been so focused on success, on building his empire. Sometimes I wonder if he even remembers the kid who used to climb trees and play in the dirt." She paused, recalling the laughter that used to fill the air when they were children. "I just want him to see that there's more to life than dollar signs." As they worked, the sun dipped lower, and a cool breeze swept through the farm. Eliza's phone buzzed with a message from one of the neighbors, confirming they would be attending. Each notification filled her with a sense of urgency. They needed to rally the community's support and show Vincent the emotional ties that bound them to the land. Later that evening, they gathered in the cozy kitchen, where the aroma of fresh-baked cookies filled the air. Eliza's mother used to bake them every Sunday, always saying that the smell of cookies brought people together. As she placed the cookies on a plate, Eliza turned to Sarah with a determined look. "Tomorrow is our day. We need to make sure everyone knows why this farm is so special," she said, her voice steady. The next day, the sun rose bright and clear. Eliza woke up early, her heart pounding with excitement. She could hear the hustle and bustle of people arriving outside. As she stepped onto the porch, she was greeted by a sight that brought tears to her eyes. The yard was filled with laughter and chatter as neighbors set up their booths and prepared for the festival. "Look at this turn out," Sarah exclaimed, joining her on the porch. "I can't believe how many people showed up." "It's incredible," Eliza said, her voice shaky with emotion. "This is our chance to show Vincent what this place means to us." As the festival commenced, Eliza moved through the crowd, greeting friends and old neighbors. Children ran around, their laughter ringing out like music, while others shared stories about the farm's history. "Remember when we used to sneak into the barn to play?" a neighbor named Mrs. Jenkins asked, her eyes sparkling with nostalgia. "Of course. And we'd always get in trouble for it," Eliza laughed, recalling the adventures of her childhood. "That barn has seen so much joy." Just then, Vincent arrived, dressed in a crisp suit that contrasted sharply with the relaxed attire of the festival-goers. He scanned the scene, a mix of confusion and curiosity on his face. Eliza felt her stomach twist. This was the moment. She had to speak to him. "Vincent!" she called, waving him over. He hesitated before making his way through the crowd, his expression unreadable. "Hey!" he said, forcing a smile as he approached. "What's all this?" "It's a celebration of the farm and everything it represents," Eliza replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "We wanted to show you how much it means to the community." Vincent looked around, taking in the vibrant decorations and the cheerful faces. "I didn't realize it was such a big deal," he said, his voice lacking its usual confidence. "It is a big deal, Vincent," Eliza insisted, her passion igniting. "This farm is not just a piece of land to us. It's a part of our history, our family legacy. Mom had dreams for this place that went beyond farming. She wanted it to be a community hub." Vincent opened his mouth to respond but paused, glancing at the crowd. He took a deep breath before speaking. "I just don't see how it makes sense to hold on to something that's not profitable. We need to think about the future." "Think about the future?" Eliza echoed, her frustration boiling over. "What future are you talking about if it means tearing down our past? You can't put a price tag on family, Vincent." "I know that, but you have to understand," he began, but she cut him off. "No, you need to understand something. This isn't just about money for us. It's about memories, about who we are. You've lost sight of that in your quest for success," she asserted, her voice rising. Vincent's expression hardened, but she could see a flicker of doubt in his eyes. "You think I don't care about us?" he shot back, his voice rising with defensiveness. Eliza took a step closer, lowering her voice to a more intimate tone. "I think you've become so wrapped up in your image that you're forgetting where you came from. This farm is a part of us, Vincent. It's where we grew up, where we learned about love and family. You can't just throw that away." Before Vincent could respond, a nearby group of children ran past, laughing and playing games. The sight seemed to soften his expression momentarily. "I don't want to throw it away," he admitted quietly, "but I don't know how to keep it either." "Let us help you," Eliza urged, sensing a crack in his armor. Let's work together to restore this place. We can turn it into something beautiful, something that honors Mom's dreams." "What do you mean?" Vincent asked, genuinely curious. "We can create a community center, a place where families can gather, where people can share their stories and memories," she explained, her excitement growing. "The community can help us fund it, and we can use the resources we have to make it happen." Vincent looked thoughtful, his brow furrowed. "And you think the community would be on board with that?" "Absolutely. Just look around you. They're already here, supporting us. They want this place to thrive as much as we do," Eliza said passionately. He glanced around, taking in the smiles and laughter surrounding him. For the first time, he felt a glimmer of hope replacing the heavy weight of obligation that had been pressing on him. I need to think about this," he finally said, his voice softer. "Please do," Eliza replied, her heart pounding in her chest. "But don't take too long. We can't afford to lose this place." As the festival continued, Eliza felt a renewed sense of purpose. She smiled and laughed with her friends and family, but her mind was still on Vincent. She had planted a seed of doubt in his mind about the sale, and she hoped it would grow into something more. Meanwhile, Vincent wandered through the festival, observing the joy around him. Conversations flowed, laughter echoed, and the sense of community was palpable. He had always been so focused on success that he had overlooked the beauty of connection. Later that day, he found himself sitting with Daniel, an old college friend who had come to support the festival. Daniel had always been a grounding force in Vincent's life, someone who reminded him of what truly mattered. "Hey man, I can't help but notice you seem a bit lost in thought," Daniel said, taking a sip of his drink. "What's going on?" Vincent sighed, feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders. "I'm torn, Daniel. Eliza is fighting so hard to save the farm, and I don't know if I should just let it go or fight her on it." "Why is it so hard for you?" Daniel asked, raising an eyebrow. "Is it just about the money?" "It's not just about the money," Vincent admitted, running a hand through his hair. "I've built my whole life around this image of success. Letting go of the farm feels like letting go of everything I've worked for." Daniel leaned in closer, his expression serious. "But is that really who you are? Or is that just what you've convinced yourself to be? Remember where you came from. Family, love, community, that's what matters. You can have success in other ways." Vincent stared at his friend, contemplating his words. "I know, you're right, but it's scary to think about giving up everything I've built." "Sometimes the hardest decisions lead to the greatest rewards," Daniel replied, clapping Vincent on the back. "Think about it. What will you regret more, selling the farm and losing that connection, or finding a way to honor your family's legacy?" Vincent's mind raced as he absorbed Daniel's words. He had always believed success was measured in wealth and status, but perhaps there was another way to define it. As the festival continued to buzz with life, he felt the stirrings of a new understanding within him. "Thanks, man. I appreciate it," he said, feeling a hint of clarity beginning to form. With each passing moment, Vincent felt the weight of his decision shift. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over the Hawthorne family farm, now bustling with activity as the community gathered for the festival. Eliza stood at the entrance, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and nervousness. She had spent countless hours organizing this event, pouring her love and memories into every detail. The air was filled with the scent of fresh hay, baked goods, and laughter. Children ran freely, their joy infectious, while adults mingled and shared stories of the farm's rich history. Eliza glanced around, her eyes landing on the old barn, its weathered wood a testament to the years gone by. She could almost hear her mother's voice echoing through the rafters, urging them to dream and to cherish their roots. With a deep breath, she stepped forward, ready to speak to the crowd gathered before her. "Ladies and gentlemen, friends and family," she began, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "Thank you for being here today to celebrate not just the land, but the memories that tie us all together." A gentle breeze stirred, ruffling her hair as she glanced over at Vincent, who stood at the back, arms crossed, watching her with a mixture of pride and skepticism. Eliza continued, "This farm has been a cornerstone of our community for generations. My mother poured her heart into these fields, and she dreamed of creating a place where everyone could come together, a center for our community where we could share, learn, and grow." Her eyes sparkled with conviction, and she could feel the energy of the crowd shifting as they leaned in, captivated by her words. Today, we honor her memory and the legacy she left us. This place is not just land or property. It is a living testament to love, resilience, and family. She paused, allowing her words to sink in. The crowd erupted in applause, their enthusiasm palpable. Vincent, however, remained silent, his brow furrowed in thought. He couldn't shake the feeling of conflict that had been brewing within him. While he admired Eliza's passion, he was still tethered to the cold reality of numbers and investments. He felt the weight of expectation from the investors, the pressure to sell, and the image of success he had meticulously crafted. As Eliza wrapped up her speech, she felt a surge of hope. She had poured her heart into this moment, and for the first time, she sensed a shift in the air. "Let's make this farm a beacon of hope, a place where we can honor our past and create a future together. Join me in making this dream a reality." The crowd roared in approval, and Eliza felt a rush of warmth and determination. Later in the day, as the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, Eliza found herself surrounded by friends and neighbors, sharing stories of their time spent on the farm. Laughter filled the air, and for a brief moment she felt invincible. She spotted Vincent again, standing alone, his eyes scanning the crowd. She decided to approach him, hoping to break through the wall he seemed to have built around himself. "Hey!" she called out, her voice brightening as she reached him. "What do you think? Isn't it amazing to see everyone come together like this?" Vincent turned to her, a small smile flickering across his lips. "It's impressive, Eliza. You've really brought the community together. Thank you. This is what Mom always wanted. I wish you could see that too," she said, her eyes searching his. "It's not just about the money or the sale. It's about family, legacy, and community." "Legacy doesn't pay the bills," Vincent replied, his tone slightly defensive, though he could hear the tremor in his own voice. "I mean, I get it. I do. But we need to think about the future, Eliza. This isn't just nostalgia. This is business." Eliza sighed, frustration bubbling up inside her. "But this is about more than just business. This is our home, Vincent. Our family's history is tied to this land. Can't you see that?" Vincent ran a hand through his hair, feeling the tension rise. "I'm not ignoring that. I don't know if I can let go of the financial aspect. I've worked too hard to build what I have." "Sometimes it's okay to let go of control," Eliza urged, her voice softening. "You don't have to bear this burden alone. We can do this together. We can find a way to honor Mom's wishes while still being smart about it." A silence hung between them, heavy with unspoken words. Vincent looked away, his gaze drifting toward the horizon. He felt torn, caught between the life he had built and the memories that haunted him. "I just don't want to be seen as the brother who failed," he confessed, vulnerability slipping through the cracks of his carefully constructed facade. "You won't fail," Eliza reassured him, stepping closer. "You're not defined by money or success. You're defined by the love you give and the connections you make. Mom always believed that, and I know she would want you to embrace that too." Vincent turned to meet her gaze, emotions swirling within him. He wanted to believe her, to feel that sense of freedom and connection she spoke of, but the fear of losing everything he had worked for gripped him tightly. "What if I can't do both? What if I can't balance the business with the heart?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "You can," Eliza insisted, her conviction unwavering. "You just have to be willing to try. Look at all these people here today. They believe in us, in this farm, in what we can create together. You're not alone in this." As the festival continued, the laughter and joy around them began to seep into Vincent's heart. He watched as Eliza engaged with the crowd, her spirit infectious. It stirred something deep within him, a longing for connection, for belonging. He realized that perhaps there was a way to merge his world with hers, to find a balance between success and love. Later in the evening, as the festivities continued, Eliza took to the stage again, her heart swelling with pride as she prepared to speak once more. "You all make this day so special," she began, her voice clear and strong. "Today is about more than just our memories. It's about our future. Together, we can create a place that embodies the spirit of our community, a center where we can nurture relationships, support one another, and celebrate our shared history." The crowd listened intently, hanging on her every word. "We can transform this farm into a space that welcomes everyone, where we can gather for events, share our talents, and build new memories. It's our chance to honor what came before while paving the way for what's to come." Vincent watched, mesmerized by her passion. The fire in her words ignited something within him, a flicker of hope that perhaps he could reconcile the two worlds he felt trapped between. As Eliza continued to speak, he felt the barriers he had built beginning to crumble, revealing a desire to be part of something greater than himself. "Let's come together as a community," Eliza urged, her eyes shining with determination. "Let's make this dream a reality, not just for us, but for the generations to come. Together, we can honor our past while building a future filled with love, laughter, and unity." As the crowd erupted into applause once more, Vincent stood there, enveloped in a warmth he hadn't felt in years. For the first time, he could see the potential in what Eliza was advocating for. Maybe it was time to stop fighting against the tide, and instead embrace the flow of love and connection that surrounded them. Once the crowd began to disperse, Eliza found Vincent standing alone, a contemplative expression on his face. "You know," he said slowly, "I've spent so much time focused on what I thought was success that I forgot what really matters." Eliza smiled, sensing the shift in his tone. "You're starting to see it, aren't you?" "Yeah," he replied, his voice filled with newfound determination. "I think I am." As they stood side by side, the sun setting behind them, both siblings felt a renewed sense of purpose, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, together. Vincent Hawthorne woke up the morning after the festival with a gnawing sense of unease. The sun streamed through the expansive windows of his penthouse, illuminating the sleek modern decor that surrounded him. Yet, as he sat up in bed, the glow felt cold and distant, almost alien. He rubbed his temples, trying to shake off the memories of the previous day's events. The laughter and joy of the community at the farm, the warmth in Eliza's eyes as she spoke about their mother's dreams, it all seemed to haunt him now, echoing in his mind. He glanced at his phone, which lay silent on the bedside table. For a moment, he considered checking his emails, diving back into the world of tech deals and stock prices. But as he looked out at the city skyline, his heart ached at the thought of the farm. The images from the festival were vivid. Eliza shining in the sunlight, surrounded by friends and neighbors, her voice carrying the weight of their family legacy in every word. For the first time in years, he felt a pang of longing, something he had buried deep beneath layers of ambition and success. Vincent swung his legs over the side of the bed and stood up, the hardwood floor cool beneath his feet. He made his way to the kitchen, pouring himself a strong cup of coffee. As he sipped the bitter liquid, He remembered the diary, his mother's diary. The words Eliza had read aloud still resonated with him, especially the passages that spoke of dreams for the farm, a community center where families could gather, laugh, and grow together. He felt a stirring in his chest, a flicker of hope battling against the cold logic that had driven him to sell. After a quick shower and a change into casual clothes, Vincent found himself behind the wheel of his car, driving down the familiar country roads toward the farm. The landscape rolled by like an old friend, the fields and trees whispering stories of his childhood. With each mile, the memories flooded back, running through the cornfields, fishing with Eliza at the pond, the sound of their mother's laughter echoing as she baked pies in the kitchen. He could almost smell the cinnamon and apples, a scent that had become a distant memory. As he pulled up to the farmhouse, Vincent was struck by how alive it felt, even in its state of disrepair. The paint was peeling, and the roof needed work, but it stood resilient against the backdrop of blue skies and golden fields, a testament to their family history. He stepped out of the car, taking a deep breath of the fresh air. It felt different today, charged with possibility. He walked up the creaking wooden porch and pushed open the heavy door. The familiar scent of aged wood and dust enveloped him, stirring more memories. "Eliza?" he called out, his voice echoing through the empty rooms. He heard a faint response from the kitchen. "In here!" Eliza's voice was bright and cheerful, a stark contrast to the turmoil swirling in Vincent's mind. He made his way to the kitchen, where she was busy cleaning up. After the festival, the counters were scattered with remnants of the previous day's celebration: empty plates, cups, and a few stray decorations. "Hey," he said, forcing a smile as he leaned against the doorframe. "You did an amazing job yesterday." Eliza turned, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Her expression shifted from surprise to cautious optimism. "Vincent, I didn't expect to see you here so soon. I thought you'd be busy with meetings or something." "Yeah, well..." He hesitated, the weight of his decision pressing down on him. "I needed to come talk to you about the farm." Eliza set the towel down and crossed her arms. "I hope you're not here to tell me you're still going through with the demolition." Vincent took a deep breath, the words caught in his throat. "I don't think I can do that." Her eyes widened, a mix of hope and disbelief. "What do you mean?" "I mean," he continued, taking a step closer, "after everything I saw yesterday, everything I felt, it just doesn't sit right with me. I can't imagine watching this place be torn down. It's more than just a property. It's our home, our history." Eliza's expression softened. "So what are you saying? Are you reconsidering the sale?" "I'm saying I want to find a way to keep the farm," he replied, his heart racing as he spoke the words he had been wrestling with all morning. I've been thinking about what Mom wanted, the community center she envisioned, the gatherings she dreamed of. I want to honor that." Tears glistened in Eliza's eyes as she stepped forward. "You mean it? You really want to do this?" Vincent nodded, feeling a rush of relief wash over him. "Yes, I want to work together on this. We can make it a space for the community, just like she wanted." Eliza took a deep breath, her voice trembling. "I can't believe you're saying this. I thought I'd have to fight you tooth and nail to stop the demolition." Vincent chuckled softly, the tension in the room beginning to dissolve. "Believe me, I didn't realize how much this farm meant to me until I saw everyone come together. It made me realize that success isn't just about numbers and profits. It's about people, memories, and love." Eliza wiped a tear from her cheek, a smile breaking through the emotional weight. "So, what's our first step? We can't just let this place fall apart. It needs work, and we'll need support from the community." Vincent felt invigorated by her enthusiasm. "Let's start by bringing everyone together again. We can hold another event, something to rally the community around the idea of restoring the farm. We'll show them what we're planning and get their input." "That sounds perfect," Eliza said, her excitement palpable. "We can gather ideas, maybe even raise some funds to start the restoration. I know so many people would want to help. Vincent felt a surge of hope. I'll reach out to my contacts for any resources we might need. We can also use social media to spread the word. If we can get enough people on board, this can be something incredible. Eliza grinned, her eyes sparkling with determination. I can start planning the event today. We can set a date for next month and make it a real celebration of the farm and our mother's legacy. Let's do it, Vincent agreed, energized by the prospect. This is where we start building something new, something that honors her memory and brings our family back together. As they began brainstorming ideas and jotting down plans, Vincent felt a shift within himself. The fears that had once gripped him began to loosen their hold. He realized that this endeavor was not just about saving a piece of land. It was about reconnecting with his roots, with Eliza, and with the community he had distanced himself from in his pursuit of wealth. Hours passed as they crafted a vision for the future of the farm. They discussed the layout of the proposed community center, potential activities, and how to reach out to their neighbors. With each idea shared, Vincent felt a sense of rekindled purpose. It was as if the farm itself was breathing new life into him, reminding him of who he was and where he came from. Finally, as the afternoon sun began to set, casting a warm glow through the kitchen window, Vincent turned to Eliza. Thank you for believing in this. I know I've been focused on my career and success for so long that I lost sight of what really matters. You've shown me that there's more to life than just chasing numbers. Eliza smiled, a mix of pride and affection in her gaze. We're in this together, Vincent. Always have been, always will be. Let's make sure our mother's dreams live on. With renewed determination, they stood side by side, looking out the window at the sprawling fields and the weathered but proud farmhouse. Vincent felt a sense of peace wash over him as he realized that he had finally found his way back home. Eliza stood in the sun-drenched kitchen of the Hawthorne family farmhouse, her gaze resting on the well-worn table that had hosted countless family meals over the years. The smell of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, intermingling with the scent of the wildflowers that bloomed outside. Vincent sat across from her, his expression serious yet contemplative, as they discussed their plans for the future of the farm. I can't believe we're actually doing this, Eliza said, her voice a mixture of excitement and disbelief. Turning the farm into a community center, it feels like Mom's dream is finally coming to life. Vincent nodded, a small smile breaking through his previously furrowed brow. You know, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm really looking forward to it. It's not just about saving the farm anymore. It's about building something meaningful together. Eliza leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Exactly. We can host events, workshops, even a farmer's market. It'll be a place for everyone to gather, share stories, and celebrate what makes this community special. As they brainstormed ideas, the sound of laughter and chatter drifted in from outside. Curious, Eliza walked over to the window and pulled back the curtain. A group of neighbors had gathered in the yard, some setting up picnic tables while others were hanging colorful banners. The sight filled her heart with warmth. Look at them, she said, turning back to Vincent. They're already coming together to support us. This is the spirit of the farm that we need to harness. Vincent stood, moving to the window to join her. It's incredible. I never realized how much the community cared about this place. I guess I've been so wrapped up in my own world that I lost sight of the connections that matter. Eliza placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. It's never too late to change that, Vincent. We can build new connections and strengthen the old ones, together. A moment of silence settled between them, filled with unspoken understanding. Vincent finally broke it, his voice lower and more reflective. I want to make sure we do this right. Mom would have wanted it to be a place of love and togetherness. We need to honor her memory. Absolutely, Eliza agreed. Let's start by organizing a community meeting. We can invite everyone to share their ideas and get them involved from the beginning. Vincent's eyes lit up with the thought. That's a great idea. We can set up a date for next week. I'll handle the logistics, and you can take care of spreading the word. Deal. Eliza grinned, her excitement infectious. I'll reach out to Sarah and see if she can help with organizing the event. She has so many contacts in the community. As they continued to plan, the atmosphere in the kitchen shifted from one of uncertainty to palpable excitement. The prospect of revitalizing the farm into a hub of community activity seemed to breathe new life into the very walls that had witnessed their childhood. Later that afternoon, the community meeting was underway. The farmhouse living room was filled with familiar faces, neighbors, friends, and even a few newcomers who had recently moved to the area. As Eliza looked around the room, she felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. This place, once a battleground for her and Vincent, was now a sanctuary for everyone who cherished it. "Thank you all for coming," Eliza began, standing at the front of the room. "As you know, my brother Vincent and I have decided to transform the Hawthorne farm into a community center. We want this to be a space where memories are made, where we can gather and celebrate together." A murmur of approval rippled through the crowd, and Eliza felt her confidence grow. "We'd love to hear your ideas on what you envision for this space. What activities, events, or services would you like to see here?" An older gentleman named Mr. Thompson raised his hand. "How about a community garden? We could grow vegetables and herbs together. It would promote sustainability and teach our kids the value of working with the land." Eliza beamed at the suggestion. "That's a fantastic idea. A community garden could also serve as an educational tool for families. We could host workshops on gardening, cooking, and preserving." Another voice chimed in. "What about hosting art classes? We have so many talented artists in the area who would love to teach." Vincent, who had been quietly observing, leaned in. "We could also hold seasonal festivals, harvest festivals in the fall, spring fairs, and even holiday celebrations. It would bring everyone together and create lasting memories." As the ideas flowed, Eliza felt a warmth spread through her heart. She glanced at Vincent, who was now fully engaged, jotting down notes and smiling at the suggestions. It was a side of him she hadn't seen in years, a side that was reconnecting with his roots and embracing the family legacy. "Let's not forget about family movie nights," a young mother suggested. "It would be a great way for families to bond and for the kids to make new friends." "Absolutely," Eliza replied enthusiastically. "We can set up an outdoor screen and have popcorn and blankets. It'll be a cozy way to end the week." As the meeting progressed, the excitement in the room intensified. Eliza felt a sense of hope and purpose that she hadn't experienced in a long time. It was as if the farmhouse had transformed before her eyes, shifting from a mere property to a living, breathing entity filled with potential. After the meeting, as people filtered out, Vincent approached Eliza, a look of satisfaction on his face. "I can't believe how many ideas were shared. This place is going to be amazing." Eliza nodded, her heart swelling with pride. "I think we're onto something special, Vincent. It feels like we're finally honoring Mom's legacy." "Yeah," he agreed, his tone sincere. "I've been thinking about everything she wanted for us. This is what she envisioned, a place where we could come together, support one another, and create something beautiful." "Let's make it happen," Eliza said, her determination shining through. "We'll work hard, and I know we can make the farmhouse a success." In the weeks that followed, the farm blossomed into a hub of activity. Eliza and Vincent coordinated with local artists, farmers, and community members to bring their vision to life. They organized cleanup days, renovated the barn to serve as an event space, and began planting the community garden. One sunny Saturday, as they dug into the earth, planting seeds and seedlings, Vincent paused, wiping the sweat from his brow. You know, I've learned more about teamwork and community in the last few weeks than I ever did in the corporate world. Eliza chuckled, her hands covered in soil. I'm glad to hear that. It's a different kind of success, isn't it? One that's built on relationships rather than profits. Exactly, Vincent replied, a look of contentment washing over his face. I think I'm finally starting to understand what Mom meant when she talked about the importance of family and community. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the farm, Eliza felt an overwhelming sense of joy. She looked at her brother and saw not just the businessman he had been, but the brother she had always known, a man who was rediscovering his roots and embracing a new path. Let's keep pushing forward, she said, her voice filled with conviction. Together, we can turn this farm into a place that future generations will cherish. Vincent smiled, a sense of determination in his eyes. Together, we can do anything. And in that moment, surrounded by the love of their community and the legacy of their family, they knew they were on the right path. The farm was no longer just a property to be sold. It had become a symbol of hope, unity, and the enduring power of family. As the sun began to rise over the Hawthorne farm, Vincent sat at the edge of his bed, staring out of the window. The golden light filtered through the trees, casting long shadows on the ground below. He felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation as he thought about the community project that was in full swing. The restoration of the family farm into a community center was a dream he had never anticipated would become his own. Yet here he was, grappling with a new identity. He could still hear the echoes of laughter and joy from the festival the previous day. His sister, Eliza, had been the star of that event, her warmth and passion inspiring everyone around her. Vincent had watched her, an overwhelming sense of pride swelling in his chest. But beneath that pride lay a gnawing fear. Who was he now? Was he still the tech mogul who thrived in the high-stakes world of business, or was he becoming something else entirely, a caretaker for a piece of his family's legacy? Vincent took a deep breath, trying to quell the turmoil inside him. He swung his legs over the side of the bed, his feet meeting the cool wooden floor. He needed to talk to Eliza. She had been his anchor through this tumultuous journey, and her unwavering belief in him was a light he desperately needed. Downstairs, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air. Eliza was already in the kitchen, her hair pulled back in a loose bun, wearing an old Hawthorne Farms t-shirt that had seen better days. She hummed softly to herself as she poured milk into a steaming mug. "Good morning, sleepyhead," she greeted him with a bright smile, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "I was just thinking about today's plans. The community is coming together to paint the old barn, and I can't wait to see how it turns out." Vincent forced a smile, taking a seat at the small kitchen table. "Yeah, sounds great," he replied, though his heart wasn't quite in it. Eliza sensed his hesitation. She leaned against the counter, crossing her arms as she scrutinized her brother. "Vincent, what's going on? You seem distant." He sighed, running a hand through his hair, feeling the weight of his thoughts pressing down on him. I don't know how to balance all of this. I've spent so many years focused on my career, on building a name for myself. Now I'm supposed to be this community guy. I feel like I'm losing part of who I am." Eliza's expression softened. "You're not losing anything, Vincent. You're evolving. You can be both a successful businessman and a part of this community. It's not an either-or situation." "But what if I'm not good at this?" he confessed, his voice dropping to a whisper. "What if I fail to live up to whatever expectations people have? I've spent my life in boardrooms, not on farms." She took a step closer, her voice steady and reassuring. "Everyone has to start somewhere. You don't need to have all the answers right now. Just be yourself. The community doesn't expect you to be perfect. They just want you to be present." Vincent looked into her eyes, searching for the confidence he desperately needed. "I just don't want to disappoint you. I know how much this means to you." Eliza smiled softly. "You could never disappoint me, Vincent. You're my brother. You've already shown so much courage by being here and wanting to help. Just take it one step at a time." With her words resonating in his heart, Vincent nodded, taking a deep breath to steady himself. "Okay, let's do this. Let's paint that barn." As they headed outside, Vincent felt the warmth of the sun enveloping him, mingling with the energy that buzzed in the air. The community had already gathered, tools and paint cans scattered around the old barn as laughter and chatter filled the morning. Vincent watched as neighbors and friends worked together, their camaraderie infectious. "Vincent, Eliza!" a voice called out. It was Sarah, Eliza's childhood friend, waving enthusiastically. "Come join us. We're just about to start." Vincent exchanged a glance with Eliza, who beamed with excitement. He took a deep breath and stepped forward, allowing himself to be swept up in the enthusiasm of the moment. They joined the crowd, picking up brushes and paint as they dove into the day's work. As they painted, Vincent found himself engaging with the community members. He listened to their stories, shared laughter, and discovered shared memories of the farm. Each stroke of paint on the barn felt cathartic, as if it was blending his past with his present. He was surprised by how much he enjoyed it, how it brought a sense of belonging that he hadn't felt in a long time. "Hey, Vincent!" a neighbor named Tom called out, a friendly grin on his face as he worked beside them. "You're doing a great job. Never thought I'd see the day you'd trade a boardroom for a paintbrush." Vincent chuckled, a genuine smile breaking across his face. "Yeah, well, I guess it's time to learn new skills." Eliza nudged him playfully. "See, you're already fitting in." As the day wore on, Vincent felt lighter, the burden of his earlier insecurities easing with each interaction. He even found himself sharing his own stories, reminiscing about summers spent on the farm and the dreams their mother had for the place. "Did you know our mom wanted to turn this barn into a community center?" Eliza chimed in, her eyes sparkling with excitement. She envisioned it as a space where everyone could gather, share meals, and build relationships. Tom nodded, his expression thoughtful. "That's a beautiful idea. We could still make that happen." Vincent felt a strange warmth at the thought. "Yeah, we could. Maybe that's what I've been missing all along, finding ways to connect." As the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the horizon in hues of orange and pink, the barn stood transformed. It was no longer just an old building. It was a canvas of memories, laughter, and new beginnings. Vincent stepped back, taking in the sight. He felt a swell of pride, not just in the work they had accomplished, but in the sense of community that surrounded him. Later that evening, as they gathered for a barbecue to celebrate their hard work, Vincent found himself standing beside Eliza, watching the community enjoy the fruits of their labor. Children ran around, laughter echoing as adults shared stories and food. It reminded him of the gatherings they used to have as a family. "Look at this," Eliza said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "This is what it's all about, isn't it? Family, friends, community." Vincent nodded, feeling a lump in his throat. "Yeah, it is. I never realized how much I missed this." Eliza turned to him, her expression earnest. "You're part of this now, Vincent. You don't have to choose between being a businessman and being a part of the community. You can do both, and you can do it your way." He smiled, the ache in his heart slowly dissolving. "You're right. I can find a way to make it work. I just need to embrace it and not be afraid of what others think." "Exactly," she encouraged, her eyes shining with pride. "We're in this together." As the sun set on the horizon, Vincent felt a renewed sense of purpose. The journey ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges and doubts, but he was ready to face them. With Eliza by his side and the support of the community, He knew he could find a way to blend his past with his present, to create a future that honored their family's legacy while allowing him to grow into the person he was meant to be. On the day of the grand reopening of the Hawthorne family farm, the sun bathed the landscape in golden light, illuminating the vibrant decorations that adorned the old barn. Banners hung from the rafters, and colorful flowers lined the paths leading to the newly refurbished community center. Eliza stood at the entrance, her heart racing with excitement and anxiety. This was more than just a reopening. It was a celebration of family, heritage, and the dreams her mother had once envisioned. As the guests began to arrive, the atmosphere buzzed with laughter and chatter. Families from the surrounding community came together, bringing potluck dishes to share, their faces beaming with joy. Eliza felt a swell of pride as she watched them mingle. She spotted Sarah across the yard, setting up a photo booth with vintage props, and waved her over. "Can you believe how many people showed up?" Eliza exclaimed, her eyes shining. "It's amazing! Your speech really touched everyone," Sarah replied, adjusting a feather boa and placing a pair of oversized glasses on her nose. "I think we're going to need a bigger cake." Eliza chuckled, her heart full. "I just hope Vincent shows up. He's been so distant lately." Just then, Vincent appeared at the edge of the gathering, his tall figure silhouetted against the sun. He wore a crisp button-down shirt, his sleeves rolled up, and his hair tousled as if he had just come from a meeting. For a moment, Eliza felt a pang of uncertainty. Would he regret this decision to embrace the community and the farm? She took a deep breath, reminding herself of everything they had worked towards together. As Vincent approached, he scanned the crowd, a hesitant smile forming on his lips. When he finally locked eyes with Eliza, she gestured for him to join her. "Hey," she called, her voice cutting through the noise around them. "You made it." "Wouldn't miss it for the world," he replied, though his tone was laced with an underlying tension. "This looks incredible, Eliza." "Thanks. I couldn't have done it without Sarah and the rest of the community," she said, her voice warm. "They've really rallied around us." Vincent nodded, but Eliza could see the flicker of concern in his eyes. She placed her hand on his arm. "Are you okay? You seem a bit off." He hesitated before responding. I've been thinking a lot about everything. The farm, my life, what it all means." He looked away for a moment, his gaze drifting to the families enjoying themselves. "I'm happy we're doing this, but there's still a part of me that feels lost." Eliza squeezed his arm gently, trying to convey her support without words. "You're not alone in this, Vincent. We're in this together. Remember what Mom wanted. This is about family, not just the farm." As the crowd began to gather for the opening ceremony, the atmosphere shifted from casual chatter to eager anticipation. Eliza took a deep breath, glancing at the makeshift stage they had set up in front of the barn. It was time for her to address the community and her brother. "Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention, please?" she called, her voice ringing with enthusiasm. The crowd turned towards her and a hush fell over the gathering. "Thank you all for being here today to celebrate the reopening of the Hawthorne Farm Community Center. We've worked tirelessly to restore this place, not just for us, but for our community. This farm has always been a part of our family, and now it's a part of yours too." Applause erupted from the crowd, and Eliza felt a surge of confidence wash over her. She glanced at Vincent, who stood a little ways back, a small smile creeping onto his face as he nodded in approval. "Today, we honor our mother's legacy," she continued, her voice steady. She believed in the power of community and the importance of coming together. This farm is a testament to that love. It represents our roots and our future. Let's cherish it, nurture it, and make it a place where memories are made and dreams are born. As she spoke, Eliza felt the weight of her words. She looked out at the faces in the crowd, familiar faces, some filled with nostalgia, others shining with hope. She could see the impact of her words, the connection they all shared through the legacy of the farm. "Before we cut the ribbon, I want to invite my brother Vincent to say a few words," she said, gesturing for him to join her on stage. Vincent hesitated, his eyes widening slightly as he stepped forward. The crowd cheered him on, and he swallowed hard, finding his footing beside Eliza. He took a moment to gather himself, looking out at the sea of faces. Hello everyone," he began, his voice a bit shaky. "I never thought I'd be standing here, but I'm grateful to be a part of this. When Eliza first told me about her plans for the community center, I admit, I was skeptical." He chuckled nervously, glancing at his sister, who smiled encouragingly. "But seeing all of you here today has opened my eyes. This place means more than just land or a business opportunity. It's about connection, memories, and love." As he spoke, the sincerity in his voice became palpable. "I've spent so much of my life chasing success and wealth that I forgot what truly matters. This farm, our family, our community, those are the things that define us. I want to apologize for ever thinking about selling this place. I see now that it's not just a piece of property. It's a home, a gathering space, and a legacy." Tears glimmered in some eyes, and Eliza felt a rush of emotion at her brother's heartfelt words. "Thank you for believing in this. Thank you for believing in us," he continued. "Let's make this farm a thriving center for all to enjoy. Together." The crowd erupted in applause, and Eliza beamed with pride. Vincent stepped down from the stage, and she embraced him tightly, feeling the warmth of his support. "Vincent, that was beautiful," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "I'm so glad you're here with me." "Thanks, Eliza. I needed to say that," he replied, his eyes glistening. "I think I'm finally starting to understand what it means to be part of something bigger." As they cut the ribbon together, cheers erupted from the crowd, marking the official opening of the community center. The two siblings stood side by side, their bond stronger than ever. As the festivities continued, Vincent found himself mingling with the community members, laughing, sharing stories, and even participating in games. He felt a sense of belonging he hadn't experienced in years. Later in the afternoon, as the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the farm, Vincent and Eliza found a moment alone, leaning against the wooden railing of the barn. "Do you think Mom would be proud?" Vincent asked, his voice soft. "Absolutely," Eliza replied, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "She'd love to see everyone coming together like this. It's everything she wanted for us." In that moment, Vincent realized that the farm was not just a place. It was a living, breathing entity filled with memories, love, and hope. He turned to Eliza, his heart swelling with gratitude. "Thank you for fighting for this, for us. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner." Eliza smiled, her eyes reflecting the fading light. "We're in this together, Vincent. Always." As the stars began to twinkle overhead, the sounds of laughter and music filled the air. The farm was alive with a new spirit, and Vincent knew they had not only saved a piece of their family history, but had also forged a new path forward together. And as the night deepened, surrounded by friends, family, and community, Vincent felt a profound sense of belonging. He realized that true wealth wasn't measured in dollars or success, but in the love and connections they nurtured. He had found his purpose, and it was intertwined with the legacy of the Hawthorne family farm, a place that would forever hold their memories and dreams.